Welcome back to the book of Romans.
Amen.
Shall we read to the book of Romans chapter 3, verse 21 to 31. The book of Romans chapter 3, verse 21 to 31. We have skipped one service from preaching about Romans, but we are going to continue today. Okay? So, the book of Romans is a very fascinating book because it deals with sin and the righteousness of God and faith, believing, such very essential doctrines for believers. Here we see about the righteousness of God, okay, and faith. So I entitled it as the importance of faith. Okay, my title is the importance of faith. The first point we will be discussing about by faith we gain God's righteousness, or by faith we receive God's righteousness. From verse 21 to 27. Secondly, by faith we exclude boasting. Okay, by faith we exclude boasting. Verse 28 to 31. So here we are going to discuss about faith. We have heard a lot of topics on faith. What is faith? We know the word is faith. Faith is, according to Hebrews chapter 11, now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. Okay, faith is assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. Assurance of things hoped for. Okay, what we hope, we need to assure, and the things that we do not see, we need to be convinced. That is called faith. Okay, faith means convincing the things we do not see or hoping. Okay, the substance or the evidence of the things that we hope for. That's called faith. Okay, according to Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1. So we have known about faith. So we are not going to go detail into faith. But why is faith so important in our life? Okay, why is it faith so important? Faith, in terms of salvation, is like our backbone. Okay, without this backbone, we cannot stand upright. If we lose this backbone, you will be a snake or earthworm. Earthworm, okay, like you will be like eagle. Okay, like you will be like earthworm without your backbone, right? You will be shaking, wavering, right? We cannot stand upright. So faith, in the sense of salvation and receiving the righteousness of God, is a backbone to the believers. This is my own definition of faith. Okay, so let's go to the first point straightly. By faith we receive God's righteousness, verse 21 to 27. I should read out some scripture portion. But now the righteousness of God has been manifested apart from the law, although the law and the prophets bear witness to it. The righteousness of God through faith in Jesus Christ for all who believe, for there is no distinction. For all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God, and are justified by His grace as a gift through the redemption that is in Christ Jesus, whom God put forward as a propitiation by His blood, to be received by faith. This was to show God's righteousness, because in His divine forbearance He had passed over former sins, to show His righteousness at the present time, so that He might be just and the justifier of the one who has faith in Jesus. This should be our first discussion. The first discussion is by faith we received God's righteousness. Okay, it is very clear. Okay, very clear that without faith we cannot be justified or we cannot receive the righteousness of God. When we talk about the righteousness of God, we need to be very serious about it, okay? Because the righteousness of God does not tolerate sin. Okay? In other words, the holiness of God does not tolerate sin or transgression of his laws or commandments, okay, okay, including all the 5 books, where the 10 Commandments is written. Okay, so God's righteousness cannot tolerate the way we break or transgress it. What's transgression? Transgression means breaking the law of someone's what? Rule. Okay, someone's commandment. Okay, so God's righteousness cannot tolerate those acts. Okay, but now the righteousness of God has been manifested apart from the law. Apart from the law, which means God's righteousness cannot be attained or received within the law. Okay, within the law there is no righteousness of God, because the law is only the headmaster of sin, right? The law is a path, or the law is just what? The instructor or of showing what is sin. That's it. So there's no salvation. Okay, there's no salvation within the law. Since there's no salvation within the law, there must be salvation without. Okay, there must be salvation without. Okay, salvation must be beside the law. Okay, please don't sleep. Okay, stay upright. Look at me. Look at me. No, don't go. Please not come for class when you're sleeping. Okay, look at me. No, otherwise you will fall down. Your phone moment you will be shy. Okay, just look at me. No, you don't need to pray. I have enough prayer, right? In the morning, before I already pray, so maybe you can pray. Maybe you can ask someone who is sleeping, okay, for closing prayer. Okay, so salvation must be beyond the law. That's why it's talking, right? Because it says the righteousness of God has been manifested apart from the law, which means righteousness of God cannot be found within the law. Inside the law, if you understand, okay? We cannot find righteousness of God inside the law, because inside the law it is revealed only what is not good, what is sin. So in order to find God's righteousness, we must seek beyond or somewhere else, not inside the law. Okay, that's what it's talking about. Which means the law is useless for salvation. But in Christian life, we are to follow the laws, because the law says what? Love your God, right? Love your neighbor. That's why Jesus said, when Jesus said, love your God, you love your neighbor. He just shortened the 10 Commandments into 2 points. The first point and the second point, he just make it 2, right? He said, love your God, love your neighbor. That's it. The first 4 commandments is about God, loving God, right? The 6 commandments are to love one another. Like I mentioned always, like vertically love and vertically love and horizontally love. Okay, the vertically love is like the fourth commandment. Okay, worship only your God, and do not bow before any image, and do not use the name of your God in vain, and follow Sabbath. These 4 commandments is vertical love, okay, toward God. And the 6, like obey your parent, do not steal, do not kill, do not covet your neighbor's belongings. These are the horizontal law. So when Jesus shortened, love your God means follow the 4 commandments. Love your neighbor means follow the 6 commandments. He's just shortening it to 10 into 2 parts. So we are to follow the laws to be blessed, not to be saved. Okay. After saving comes the law. Not before saving comes the law. After saving comes the law. Right? So some people misunderstand here very sadly, unfortunately. Right? They thought before salvation comes the law. No, only after salvation comes the law, right? So, in the second verse, although the law and the prophets bear witness to it, the righteousness of God through faith in Jesus Christ for all who believes. Okay, the righteousness of faith of God through faith in Jesus Christ for all who believe. The righteousness of God is for all those who believe in Christ, not in the law. Again, okay. In the first part it says what? Apart from the law. In the second part it says through Christ who believe in Him. Very clear. There's no salvation beside Christ. Okay. There's no salvation. That's why somebody said the grace of God is as white as the cross. Right? The cross may be like maybe two years big white and maybe 4 years high. The cross, right? 2 years. How many feet? Maybe 5 feet, right? 5 feet or 6 feet wide and 8 feet tall. That's it. But he said the grace of God is as big and white as the cross. The cross may be 6 feet wide and 8 feet tall, but it can contain us. It contains the whole world. Okay, so that's why he said the grace of God is as white as and big as the cross. Very meaningful. Which means beyond the cross there's no salvation. Beyond the cross there's no what? Grace. Beyond the cross there's no righteousness. The grace, the love, the righteousness of God is within the cross, not in the law. Okay? So who believe in Him, who believe in the cross of Christ is given grace, love, righteousness, salvation. Okay, very, very meaningful verse, very deep. Okay, you should be reading here, it in your Bibles, read it and study it through. Okay, and for there is no distinction. Why? There is no distinction. Distinction means no difference. Okay, no separation. What? In what case? In what time? In what situation? In the case of sinful being. Okay, in the case of sinful nature. Okay, what is the next? Okay, there's no distinction. There's no distinction means between the Jews and the Gentiles. There's no difference. Our figure, okay, our appearance, our body figure might be different, but spiritually there is no difference. Bodily, they may look like black or brown. They may have mustard, right? We don't have mustard here. We don't have bear. We don't have mustard. We don't have bear. But most of the Jews, they have bear and mustard, right? We don't have bear. Okay. Of course, Kai has the leader here. But if it get longer, it would be like goat. Okay. It would be like goat. People eat goat. So, that's why some people look like goats. No? They have bear, long bears. Somebody was preaching. Okay, preaching. He has this mustache, very long, and a young old woman was crying. Look at him, crying. After preaching, the preacher asked her, "Auntie, what are you? Why are you crying?" You know what she said? "When I saw your face, I remember my goat." Okay, so when I saw your face, I remember my goal, so I was crying. Just joking. So they have these bears and masters. We don't have that, right? We may be different in physical appearance, but the spiritual, we are no different. Why? Because in the next verse it says, because, what is it? For all have sinned. That's it. Full stop. In terms of spirituality, we all are sinners. That is why there's no difference. There's no distinction. We are on the same level, whether Jews or Gentiles. Okay, whether women or men, whether children or young, girls or old. We all are in the same stage under sin. Okay, we have all sinned. That is why Paul, the writer of the book of I hope Romans is trying to tell us, trying to tell the believers in the Rome. So it is applied to us. We all are what? Sinners. Okay, nothing to boast. We are a sinner. So you have no distinction because we all are sinners. And then what? Fall short of the glory of God. Fall short of the glory of God. It means we have failed. Okay, failed in every way. Everything we do is a failure, just a failure. Okay, with our own efforts, our trials, you know, our hard work is are only but failures. Okay, failures. That's what So an apple tree will bear apples, right? Mango tree will bear mangoes. Sinful man will bear sin. That's it. We have failed to God and are justified by His grace as a gift through the redemption that is in Christ Jesus. The only way we are justified, justification is like there is a judicial word, okay? In a court, is justifying is many times used. Even in Facebook, if you ever listened about Israel and the Palestine, they have used this word many times. Okay, you cannot justify this and that. You cannot justify your this in Hamas because they killed Israel, or Hamas cannot justify because they have been killed by Israel and they have to kill them back. It cannot justify. So this word justify is always many times used, even in the situation of Hamas and Israel, so which means this is a judicial law. Okay, it is used in the courts when what is the judge. Okay, what the judge is just when the judge justifies the sinful man, the one who is guilty. Okay, now you are justified and you are not guilty. Things like that. Okay, so we are justified, which means we are not guilty. Okay, we are not guilty. We have been what? Exposed. What? Just righteous. We have been declared not guilty. We have been free from guilt, which means we have been free from sin. By what? By faith. Okay, by grace. Okay, as a gift. Grace, again, is a gift of God. Grace can never be earned by merits. Okay? Grace never can be earned by good deeds or virtues. Okay? Grace alone can be earned by God. Is given as a gift. A gift is not something we earned with, okay, or we earn for. Okay? A gift is a gift freely given. There's no charge in gift. When somebody gives you a gift, that means he or she loves you and she gives you that gift freely. You don't need to pay even one chap, right? Even 100 chap maybe. You don't have to pay that because you have been given freely. That's called gift. So God has given us or justified us by His grace, which is a gift. Okay, which is a gift. It's not our own effort. Okay. Whom God put toward, whom God put forward, as a gift through the redemption that is in Christ. Okay, finish. Whom God put forward as a propitiation by His blood. Propitiation is another theological term. Okay, it is very new for you. Propitiation is like appeasing. Okay, like appeasing or making happy. Okay, somebody makes God happy. Who is that? Christ. Okay, Christ made happy or pleaded God. Pleaded from what? The wrath of God. What's the wrath of God? The wrath of God is damnation. Eternal damnation. Eternal damnation in hell. Okay, so Jesus Christ has pleaded God, propitiated God from to make us escape from the wrath of God. That is called propitiation. Okay, so He has pleased God behalf of us. We can never please God on our own because we are naturally sinful.
The only person who can please God, the Holy God, is Christ. Another God, let's say, okay? Another God. The second person of the Godhead, that is Christ. Through His blood, right? Through His blood. Yeah, by His blood. Without shedding of blood, there's no redemption. There's no remission. There's no forgiveness. So Christ had to share His blood, like we have studied on Saturday about how did Jesus go to the holy place in heaven and pour out His own blood once for all. So He exactly did that to procreate, okay, our sinful nature towards God the Father, okay, and to receive by faith, this was to show God's righteousness because in His divine forbearance He had passed our former sin. For His divine forbearance has passed our former sins. Our former sins, the sins that have been inherited from Adam, has been forborne. Okay, means forgiven. Okay, forgiven had. Okay, so it was to show His righteousness at the present time, so that He might be just and the justifier of the one who has faith in God. The justifier of the one who has faith in God. Okay, God is the only justifier. Okay, so we are justified. In other words, we have received the righteousness of God through what? Faith, who believe in Christ. There is no other justification or righteousness or salvation beside Christ, beside the cross. That's why we believe we receive righteousness through faith. Secondly, I will be very short, okay? Second part is short. What is it? By faith, we exclude boasting. Verse 28 to 31, okay? We'll be there very shortly. So then what becomes of our boasting? It is excluded by what kind of law? By a law of works? No. By the law of faith. See, then we become, what becomes of our boasting? What is becoming our boasting? I think Paul said that I boast in Christ. Okay, so in this case, boasting means boasting about salvation. Okay, boasting about righteousness of God. We have received the righteousness of God. So should we boast ourselves? That's why he's asking. Okay, in the next, it is excluded. Our boasting is excluded, which means we cannot boast on our own when we receive the righteousness of God. Okay, so how do we boast, or how do we exclude that boasting? By laws of works? We cannot throw away boasting by our own good deeds. So the only way we can throw away our boasting, which in other words is humble, okay, is by the law of faith. Okay, here we exclude boasting by faith. Faith is the only thing that can throw away our boasting. If we ever boast about our salvation, thinking that we have received this salvation or righteousness of God by our own merit, we have made very, very big mistake. Okay, we can never be boasting on our own about salvation of righteousness of God. Okay, we can only boast by faith. That is, faith is also a gift of what? God. Okay, for we hold that one is justified by faith apart from works of the law. We know he's explaining again what is written about. Okay, we know we are justified by faith, not by works. Right? Nobody is justified by faith, but by works, but by faith. Okay, faith is the only instrument, the only weapon we have to get justification from God. Okay, that's what it said. Or is God in God the God of Jews only? Jews only? No, definitely not. God is the God of all nations, right? God is the God of all nations, very clear. Next, is he not the God of Gentiles also? Is he not the God of Gentiles also? Yes, God is the God of Gentiles also. That is why he saved. Who is that? That harlot, okay? Huh? What is her name? The harlot name? Prostitute in Jericho. Hmm? What is her name? Zaman Nabi Rakat. Rakat. So Rakat was a Gentile, okay? He got saved. So which means God is the God of Gentiles also. Very clear, no doubt. If you have a thought, God is the God of Jews only, you're mistaken. Okay, you know that God is our God. Okay. So I don't have to explain all this. Okay. So yes, of Gentiles also, since God is one who were justified as the circumcised by faith and the uncircumcised through faith. Okay. Here, circumcision again. Circumcision is found in the book of Genesis chapter 17, between as a sign between God and Abraham. Okay, so we are not going to that. We have had enough. Okay, so the one who is circumcised by faith. Here, very clear, circumcision is not sin. Okay, whether you circumcise or not is not a sin. Whether you circumcise is not a sin or is not a sin, unless you exclude faith. Okay, here it said that if you are circumcised by faith, that is counted as righteousness. Okay, very simple. And if you are not circumcised by faith, that is also counted as righteousness. Circumcision by faith is also acceptable, and uncircumcision by faith also is acceptable. Both are equal. So what is the main? What is the underlying? And what the bottom line is faith. Okay, faith is the bottom line. We have been counted righteousness, not circumcision or uncircumcision. Again, circumcision or uncircumcision without faith is nothing. Okay, circumcision and uncircumcision by faith is acceptable. No? So don't be confused somebody when somebody is circumcised. Okay, you don't just them. If they circumcised, that's okay. That may be good for their physical health. Doctors said taking circumcision at the 8th day of a child will profit his health. So no big issue, right? Circumcised or uncircumcised, no issue. But the issue is faith. Whether he believes in Christ or not is a big issue. Okay, whoever circumcised by faith is acceptable, and whoever not circumcised by faith is acceptable as well. Okay, we are going at the end. Okay, conclusion. Do we then overthrow the law by? The law is there as the model of Christian believers. The law is not as a model for salvation. Again, the law is a model for believers' action. Okay, the fruit of believers can be shown by following the law. Love your God, love your neighbor. That's God's Jesus' law. Okay, the new law Jesus is God, love your God and love your neighbor. So we don't throw away the laws by faith. Okay, that is also wrong again. So by no means, on the contrary, we uphold the law. On the contrary, we uphold. So here, okay, the first is we receive righteousness of God by faith. Secondly, we exclude boasting but include the law by faith. Right? You exclude, which means you throw away boasting by faith, but you follow the law by faith for your benefits physically. Okay, to be your blessing. Thank you. May God bless us through this church.